Welcome. Today we're talking about shipping terms. So shipping terms are called free on board or FOB. And shipping terms can be FOB shipping point or FOB destination. And this determines who pays the shipping. It also determines who owns the goods while they are in transit. So let me show you. And before I show you, the FOB terms are going to be written into the sales contract. So everyone knows ahead of time whether it's FOB shipping point or FOB destination. All right, let's assume we have our seller's location and our buyer's location, okay? They're not in the same place, which means that we are going to have to somehow get the goods that the buyer is purchasing from the seller's location to the buyer's location. Make sense? So we're going to probably use a third party, UPS, FedEx, Postal Service, DHL, who cares? One of those, right? And someone's going to have to pay for that because last time I checked, UPS is not free. Okay, so the seller is called the shipping point. The buyer is called the destination. And if you think about it, the seller has their warehouse, and then they have this dock, and this is the dock that the truck pulls up to. I would draw a truck, but I'm going to draw a truck. All right. It's not a very good truck. The truck pulls up here, loads the goods, and then delivers them over here to the buyer's receiving dock. Our seller's shipping dock is called the shipping point. So the buyer's dock is the shipping point. The seller's dock, where the truck is going to drop off the goods that have been purchased, is going to be the destination. All right. Hopefully you can read that. The buyer's dock is the destination. So if our terms are FOB shipping point, it means it's free to the shipping point. FOB is free on board, free to the shipping point. That means the buyer is going to pay the shipping. If our terms are FOB destination, that's free on board, free to the destination to the buyer, and that means the seller is going to pay the shipping costs. So let me just write that down really quick. No, I will. Okay. And then the other thing that the FOB determines is who owns the goods when they're in transit, when they're on this truck, okay? Because they're out of the seller's control. They've already left the seller's dock. They're not yet in the buyer's control. They haven't arrived at the buyer's receiving dock. They're sitting in this truck. And if that truck crashes or catches on fire or gets hijacked or disappears, the goods are gone. Whose responsibility is it to pay for them? Whose responsibility is it to coordinate with UPS or FedEx or whoever and say, hey, my goods caught on fire, you need to reimburse me? And the answer is whoever pays the shipping owns them while they're sitting on this truck. So if the terms are FOB shipping point, it's free to the seller, the buyer pays the freight, and the buyer owns their goods while they're sitting on the truck. If it's FOB destination, it's free to the buyer, the seller is paying the goods, and the seller owns the goods while they're sitting on that truck. Whoever owns them, that's who's responsible. So if it's FOB destination and the seller owns the goods and the truck catches on fire, then the seller doesn't get paid. They owned the goods burned up. They can go and try and get restitution from the third party who owns the truck, but the buyer doesn't have to pay anything. Conversely, if it's FOB shipping point, then the buyer owns the goods. If the truck catches on fire, the buyer still has to pay the seller because once they were on the truck, the buyer owned the goods. Okay, that wraps up our discussion on FOB shipping terms, and we'll see you next time.